Hey man, we finally did it. Yeah, man. So how's your Saturday going?
Yeah, it's been going good. Okay, so your side.
That's all right. Yeah, it's just a nice sunny day. I think it's about 30 something degrees, so
Yeah,
guess I've summed
yeah,
up.
that's the thing. It's really humid outside today. That,
It's nice.
but outside is quite is hectic.
Okay, so let's get down to it. Okay, the Australia-India series, as I predicted in the final ODI, because they wanted to, you know, have some add some respect to the series. It was a much more convincing performance. Australia, 66-run win. Maxwell did well, 4 for 40 with two. Shipman Gill was man of the series with 178 runs. What were your thoughts, eh?
No surprises there. Here, India have been they've been fantastic in bilateral series at home, and now it's been a while since they actually lost a bilateral series. I think the last team that beat them was actually Australia. So. Um, I think both teams are actually still trying a few things in their lineups. Just fine
Hmm.
tuning before the World Cup. So I think the series was more about preparation than anything else, and I think both
Hmm.
teams got that. Yeah.
Okay, I think. Oh yeah, I think I was trying to revisit a topic you had spoken to me on WhatsApp. You're quite worried about the weather in the World Cup, and I found that a bit strange because when I looked at the warm-up matches, I think it was only our one that got affected. New Zealand did theirs against Pakistan, and they chased a mammoth 350, maybe 350 score, and then Bangladesh beat Sri Lanka in their warm-up. So, although unless you're referring to something else, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was basically referring to the weather in general because the two matches that are on today, the two warm-up games have actually also been affected by rain. So there's a lot of rain,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh
that's
yeah, oh
that's
yeah.
taking place.
India and England. Oh yeah, India and England got
Yes,
rain as well. Australia and the Netherlands. Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, okay.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So a bit of a concern going into the World Cup, especially in group games, because I mean there is no reserve days for group games. I think there's reserve days for knockouts.
okay.
Look, there's a lot of stake here. There's a lot at stake in the World Cup. I
Hmm.
mean, teams want to play the entire matches. I just hope, as you said, if it's going to be affected by weather, that we do get at least a full game. And
Yeah.
enough to constitute a game because it's going to be really difficult for both teams to, part away with 1 point each because I think all teams actually want to go for that maximum 2 points, and that's going to help them, try and get out of the group. So it's a little bit concerning for me that we're getting this kind of weather in India at the moment. Um, if I really want to
Yeah.
put it, I think that this World Cup could have taken place earlier this year instead of now because it's generally a rainy season this time of the year in India. So, mm,
Oh yeah.
yeah, let's hope. Let's just hope it doesn't
I
affect too
wonder
many
if
matches.
COVID was the reason why things got shuffled around. Yeah, I think COVID was the reason why things got shuffled around because technically, if you remember, can't remember. I think the T20 World Cup, I think, was supposed to have happened in India, right? And then I think that got shuffled around, and then I think, unless that was IPL, I don't know, but I think a lot of things got affected because of COVID, eh? That's why so much shuffling around has been happening with the World Cup. So yeah, it is what it is, eh? But I think we should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, you got to factor in the IPL as well. The IPL is obviously going to take 2 months out of the circus as well. So it is quite difficult. It is quite difficult to have a tournament before the IPL as well. So yeah, let's just see how it goes. Just hope that we don't get too many games that are actually rain effect because that would be really, really disappointing.
Okay, all right. Let's have review the World Cup. There are 10 teams playing. It is similar format to the 2019 World Cup, round robin. We have, let's call it the lesser teams, if we can put it that way. We have Afghanistan, we have Netherlands, and we have, who else can we say that's actually a lesser team? I would say Bangladesh is a lesser team, but that would be a bit insulting. So let's keep it to Afghanistan and Netherlands. I was watching what the experts had said. They said Netherlands versus Pakistan. I think that their first match could be one of those banana skin matches. But my theory is if that match is played at a Western ground, well, not Western, but it's a pitch that, let's say, for example, at Ahmedabad, I think that could be a potential upset, depending on how Pakistan wake up on that day. Let me see where it's been played, because I found that quite fascinating that they thought that could be a banana skin for Pakistan. But then I was reminded of the Ireland versus Pakistan at the West Indies, and what an upset that was. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, these are quite familiar conditions for Pakistan. I mean, they're playing in India. I mean, conditions are not too far off from what they're going to get, in Pakistan as well. So I don't really see that game as a banana skin. I see a few games for Pakistan that might be banana skins, but not that one. I mean, Netherlands. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a fantastic achievement for them to get to this World Cup. I mean, they're the lowest ranked team in this tournament, but I mean, dare you take them lightly, which a few teams did do in the the qualifiers, and you saw what happened with that. Look, I don't think that's going to be a banana skin for Pakistan. I just think they, yeah,
That's an Asian. That's an Asian one, meaning that it's more Indian than some of the other ground that'll be played in India. Played
yeah.
in, yeah, like Ahmedabad, I'd say it's more Western. If I can remember, I think it's more Western pitch, if that makes any sense to you. Hmm.
Face quality bowling enough, and that's obviously where they kind of get exposed. I mean, the longer the format, that's where you actually you gauge whether they're right up there in terms of where they need to be at the international level. To be fair, T20 cricket really brings a lot of these teams close by. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about Afghanistan, you talk about Netherlands, Ireland. I mean, T20 cricket, you know, the gap in quality are low, such because I mean, it's just 20 overs, not anything can happen. But I think with 50 overs, there's obviously a lot more time, and you obviously need a level of patience as well in terms of how to construct an innings, and it's going to be a challenge for them. But I don't particularly see that game as a banana skin for Pakistan. A little bit surprising. There are a few tricky games in this World Cup, but I don't see that one being a tricky one for Pakistan.
Yeah, I kind of realized the World Cup is coming really soon. 5th of October, the English and the New Zealand, that's kind of yeah, man. That was the two World Cup finalists, and they're playing in Ahmedabad. That's, Western type pitch, if I could put it that way. And I'm hoping that the Kiwis win this one, just to add a bit of, spice to it, a bit of masala. What do you think, Avish? I know you like England.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a bit surprising that the host nation is not playing the first game. So a little bit surprised with the scheduling here, because I would think the host nation would probably play the opening game of the World Cup. But anyways, it's England and New Zealand. Always a close contest. I mean, to be honest with you, look at New Zealand. They've come into this World Cup, like they do in all ICC tournaments, under the radar as we see it. But I look at New Zealand this time around. I just don't see them, having that kind of strength that they had in previous tournaments. I think, to be fair, I think 2019 was their best opportunity to win a World Cup. I mean, with the side and the opportunity that they had, and obviously we all know what happened in that final. I mean, winning by a boundary count. I mean, that game ran right down to the wire. It was a crazy game, Williamson, not sure in terms of his injury. I mean, he's key to them. Getting a good total on the board. They do have players that are experienced in the IPL. I mean, you can't take them lightly. But I just feel England, with the way they play the game, very attacking. I just think they'll probably have enough for what you call New Zealand in the opening game. It's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough for New Zealand this World Cup. I mean, I could be proven wrong, but I just feel that they haven't had the best of preparation. Excuse me, going into the World Cup, and I don't think they're the side that they were like 4 years ago, because 4 years ago they were really well-oiled unit in limited overs cricket and 50 overs cricket. I just don't feel they they have that kind of vibe in their camp like they did 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. But I don't know why. The New Zealand seem to keep making semis. Even if you remember 2011, where the last World Cup was in India, even they made semis and they lost to Sri Lanka convincingly. So it wouldn't surprise me if they somehow make semis. But we'll get to that towards the end. Just want to look at the main matches here. Okay. The South Africa and Sri Lanka, that's actually on the Saturday. It's actually a double header there. They're playing in Delhi. And I think Delhi is an Asian type surface, so that could go either way. I would love South Africa to win. We all do, but don't underestimate Sri Lanka, especially in Asian conditions. They will be a tricky team. But obviously, I'm not saying we shouldn't win that, but just if we stay focused, we should. This is my theory of it, and don't call me crazy. Against the established teams, even if we win by 20 to 30 runs, I'm okay with that. But if you're playing a team like Netherlands and Afghanistan, if you play to potential, we've got to win those matches very strong so that we have a good net run rate, so that should anything happen, we don't end up having regret stories. What's your theory on that?
Totally agree with you. I think when you're playing the lower ranked nations, you got to be as ruthless as possible. And I mean, net run rate is a major factor in this tournament, and the way the format of the World Cup is because I think if you look at the format, every team plays each other, so you kind of get the feeling that the top teams will go through. You kind of if you play good enough cricket, you will go through. But getting back to this opening game, it is a potential banana skin. And what I saw of Sri Lanka in the Asia Cup, they definitely are a bowling side, not a batting side as such, because I think their batting was in certain games was actually quite dreadful. So that is their weakness, and that's something that teams need to exploit is their batting. But in terms of their bowling, they do have bowlers. They do have bowlers in those conditions, especially those spinners. I mean, you've got Tikshana, Valagedra. You've got the pace of Patirana. So they do have bowlers. They do have bowlers that can cause you problems. It's a tricky game, eh? It's a tricky game, but I just think, I can see SA getting over the line, but it's going to be tricky.
It's a day nighter, so I don't know how the pitch will play at night, but if it does steam around and we've batted first, we could have a bit of fun with the bowling side of things. But that's just a theory. I don't know how much.
I concur with what you're saying, absolutely. But I mean, looking at this tournament, I think we can probably give our top 4 teams that might go through. I mean, if I were to put you on the spot now, who do you fancy like getting into those playoffs? Knockout.
Okay. India, I would say. I don't know, who did I say? I mean, if I'm looking at the obvious favorites, then I'll try and narrow it down to 4 to make it easier for me mathematically. The favorites are like India, England, then there's Pakistan. I know you don't like Pakistan, but I always see them as a danger. Then there's obviously the Kiwis. They always seem to mix in somewhere, but I'm just trying to narrow it down in my head. And there's also Australia, so now I'm going to try and pick up semi-finals from there. Okay, and then in an ideal world, I love an India-South Africa final if I don't end up crying, whoever wins. But now honestly, I'd love to see an India-Pakistan final. Oh, that would just be blockbuster. The viewership on that would be awesome. But okay, semis, you said top 4 semis, okay. Or just top 4 teams. Okay, let's make it easier. India, Pakistan, England, and let's say South Africa. Let's have a bit of fun with this South Africa. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Pakistan. We all know about Pakistan cricket. They blow hot and cold. Let's be honest. They kind of like the weather, and we saw that in the Asia Cup. There was some great performance from Pakistan and not so great performances. So their side that is not consistent. I mean, I don't think they can ever go into a World Cup where they actually run through the group stage and not lose a single game. I don't think they're a side like that. However, they're not a side that can be taken lightly, and the reason why they can't be taken lightly is because of their bowling attack. And that is what actually wins them games.
Yeah.
But I mean, getting back to what you're saying, I mean, top four. I would look at India. I mean, India playing at home in those conditions. I mean, let's not forget the pressure that India will be under playing a World Cup at home. And those fans. I mean, those are the most demanding fans in the world. I mean, that is the most followed team in the world. So it's going to be tough in terms of pressure. But I just think, with the quality that they have, they do have enough to get to the semi-finals. Playing at home, they're going to be difficult to beat. However, I don't see them winning every single game in this table. I think there's going to be a game or two where they, might not get over the line. But I do see them getting to the semis. And then, I hate to say it, but, the Aussies, I mean, they might not have had the best preparation, losing, two ODI series in a row. They lost 5 games in a row at one stage. But, they do know what it takes to do well in these ICT tournaments, and they do really perform in these ICC tournaments in terms of getting out of and making it to the latter stages. So I just think, they might have that quality to get to a semi-final spot. I don't think they're going to win it, however. I don't think they're going to win it. But I think they're good enough to get to a playoff. England, I mean, defending champions, I mean, they're not going to go away lightly, Sid. They've got firepower in their batting. They've got both the bowlers, that can step up. I mean, Ben Stokes is back. That's a big plus for them. So, I can see them making the semis as well. And then, this is where it gets a bit tricky, hey? I mean, who's going to be that number 4 team? As I said, I don't fancy New Zealand that much this year, and I would stick to that. I don't really fancy New Zealand in this World Cup. I think they're a side that's there for the taking. So that fourth spot is definitely probably going to come down to Pakistan and SA, and whoever wants it more. Look, that game, Pakistan and SA, could be a crucial game as well as to where this is going to swing for both teams. So, yeah, I think that fourth spot is between Pakistan and SA, Sid, and
that one.
Yeah. So
Asian pitch, isn't it? I think Hyderabad is Asian, so Pakistan may be favorites, which I know won't be music to your ears. But it depends on the situation. Pakistan, if they're desperate to win, meaning that they really need to win, then I feel they'll be really, really dangerous. But if they've won games going into that match, then they may be a bit complacent. Not complacent, but they may be a bit off the boil. So that could be us to win that. I remember the T20 World Cup, Pakistan needed to win games. And I always fear that when they need to win games, they are up for it. But though I do admit, when we played them in the T20, our fielding was really pathetic. So I don't think we should be off the boil either. So I think it all depends on where Pakistan is at heading into that match. If they've but that's on the 10th of October, so you never know. Pakistan SA matches. But then Pakistan has had the wood on us, hey? So I think we need to really erase that, hey?
Absolutely. Look, I think we've got to go all out pace there. And, as I said, the T20 World Cup has got to, they have to learn from those kind of games. But obviously, that's a totally different format. So I think we shouldn't be talking about it in isolation, because we're talking about 50 overs now. So, T20 cricket, we know how unpredictable that is. But I think 50 over cricket, kind of more often than not, it's generally the better team that ends up winning on the day. So, I think SA have a decent chance here. So, I'll just leave it open for now. I'd say, SA are obviously going in as dark horses and got to take it as a game by game. But I think that last semi-final spot is probably going to be between Pakistan and SA to whoever wants it more. And, fingers crossed, Proteas might just, sneak into the semifinals. And once you get to the semifinals, you know what? As I always say, this thing is possible. Anything is possible in a knockout game.
Yeah, I was looking actually on Sunday on the 8th of October, it's India Australia. They're playing at Chennai, which is an Asian type surface. Although, when I remember the smash in Chennai, Australia had beaten India in Chennai to win that series early in the year. So, not a done deal for India. India will have to still play well and hopefully beat the Australians, which should be a good start for India, actually, because that's their first match of the tournament. So, once they beat Australia, then they'll be motoring on along very nicely.
Well, I mean, not the easiest game for the host nation, first game of the tournament. But I mean, in my opinion, this is definitely the game of the group stages. So this is the most, this is one of the most eagerly awaited games of the group stages. High profile game, India and Australia, home ground advantage. Crowd. I just think India might just have enough to beat this Australian side. And I mean, it's a good thing that they did play them recently. So, I mean, they know what to expect from Australia. So, yeah, I just think India might just have enough to sneak this one, hey?
Yeah, okay. I think I don't want to get too much into the fixtures so that we can have something to talk about.
Absolutely.
Okay, but last one. Just, I know Australia will play us eventually. That'll be in Lucknow, and I think that's, and if I remember Lucknow, I'm thinking of IPL, where those pitches were really dreadful. So if it's like that, which I don't think it'll be as dreadful as that, but it'll be Asian type surface, ball will turn. And I think we have more variety in terms of spin than Australia. So hopefully I fancy us to clinch that, but we're just going to be focused, and I think we will win that as well. But I won't write Australia off, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If Australia lose that first game against India, they're going to be desperate, sir. And you don't want to play in an Australian side that's got their backs to the walls that actually need to win. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the easiest start. I mean, they're playing India and they're playing SA. So, those two games are not easy games to actually start off a tournament. But I think winning the first game is crucial for any team that actually wants to go far in this tournament. Winning that first game, getting that first W is crucial because it builds momentum. Winning builds momentum. So, I think it's vitally important for SA to get over the line against Sri Lanka, and same with India. It's important for them, being the host nation. I mean, you don't really want to see the host nation lose the first game. Hey, it's not a good feeling in that sense. Absolutely.
But even if India lost Australia, they play against Afghanistan afterwards, and you would expect them to win that. It's a day-nighter, so I wouldn't lose sleep over that. I don't think. Not that I'm trying to underestimate.
As you said, I think because it's in Chennai, and I think there's going to be a lot that Indian team is really going to be spin heavy for that game. I just got that feeling they might have too much for Australia on the day. Home ground advantage, home crowd. I mean, their bowlers have been quite deadly going into this competition. So I mean, we all know who we're talking about. Kuldeep, he's been fantastic for them in the Asia Cup, and prior to this tournament. So he's going to be a real threat. And obviously Bumrah is back. So that is a well-balanced attack. So that is a well-balanced attack. And as I said, being at home ground advantage, crowd, the crowd is behind them.
As well, which is awesome. He bowled really well in the Asia Cup, Hardik Pandya. So I think that side is pretty much perfect.
Yeah, I mean, in India, look, the package said India look a well-balanced side going into this World Cup. So I think personally Australia have got their work cut out in that game, especially it being in Chennai, and India do have a good record in Chennai. Let's be honest. So yeah, I expect India to win that game, hey?
And I expect India to also, if they make the finals, I think they'll win the World Cup. I'm calling it already. Who do you think is going to win the World Cup now?
I think we'll have that discussion once we get to the knockouts, Sid. I think we'll have a good idea.
No, it's going to win just our predictions. It's not just
Absolutely.
But I'm saying for now, I can win the justice.
Look, India are overwhelming favorites. When you talk about this World Cup, India favorites at home. I mean, with the team that they've got a balanced side. They're playing in home conditions. They've got the home crowd behind them, and we know how difficult it is to beat them on those sort of surfaces. So They are the
But I,
favorites. By no means,
but I
they are
thought
the
you
favorites.
said, I thought you told me that you thought England were going to win the World Cup. Hmm.
Australia.
No, no, not Australia,
I
England. I thought you told me that England were going to win the World Cup on WhatsApp. You're a big supporter of England.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? England are going to be there or thereabouts. I mean, defending champions, they're not going to go away easily. But when you're talking about favorites on paper, it's definitely
Oh,
India in that sense. But
okay.
don't be surprised if it's an England and India final. Don't be surprised. Don't be
No,
surprised.
no, no.
Don't
Although
be surprised.
although
So
I'd love India and Pakistan in the final. Although when I look at India and Pakistan, I find it so funny because it's like one part of India is playing another part of India. It's like it's ridiculous, but that's politics anyway. It's like if you look
yeah,
at
it's
England and
politics.
Australia, and if you look
That's
at England and Australia,
absolutely
and
yeah.
if you look at England and Australia, it's the same story. England playing the convicts, which were from England. Again, politics. And yet the irony is those are the best rivalries of cricket. So if you didn't have that happening, who knows what rivalries would add in cricket? So it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's enough rivalries in cricket. So, as those ones you mentioned, those are the most highly watched rivalries in the game. So, I mean, we all love those rivalries, and
Yeah.
that's what keeps the game alive as well. So, I think Pakistan getting in the final will be like really really amazing,
Mm.
but a bit far fetched, I would say, in terms of their form going into the World Cup and stuff. So. Yeah, I mean, if India had to play Pakistan in the semi-final, I would give that one to India, definitely, because I
Oh,
just think Pakistan,
yeah.
they kind of bottle a lot of games against India in ICC tournaments, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't be
But
surprised if
a lot
India beat them.
better nowadays against India. They're not as nervous as they used to be against India. Haven't you noticed their records against each other? I mean, their head to head have been very close of late. It's not
Uh,
as been one way. It's like been one day India, one day Pakistan. It's not like not a train wreck. It's like, yeah. So I
I,
wouldn't
I,
make
I
it so.
would say more. I would say more in the T20 format. It's probably a lot closer, and we've got to be honest about that. The T20 format, Pakistan are quite a dangerous side. They're a fantastic team in T20
Yeah,
cricket.
yeah.
I,
But I
I,
wouldn't
I think
rather.
50 overs, I would
Yeah,
say 50 overs, player for player. I think India probably got
yeah.
too much in the tank for Pakistan side that I would say
Yes,
personally are reliant on a few players. If those
of
players
course.
actually don't come up and don't perform, you can see Pakistan, folding. And I think it's what teams have to target in World Cups. If you can stop a certain number of players in that Pakistan lineup to not perform in terms of their bowling and batting, if you can go after those players, I think we see
Mm.
some cracks. We see some cracks opening, and we saw it in the Asia Cup when
Yeah,
India played Pakistan. The cracks happening in the bowling and in the batting
yeah.
lineup. So there is cracks there. I mean, this is a flawed team, but there's a lot of individuals that actually can carry this team. So it is a flawed team, in my opinion, in terms of on paper. But I mean, the game is not played on paper, but they do have match winners,
Mm.
a few match winners in their lineup that can make money on their days. So you can't underestimate them in that sense. But
I
the
would
thing is,
never.
when you got them down, you got to keep them down, because if you give them
Yeah,
any kind of hope, they can come back and snatch it.
but they're kind of team that when they need to win, they just win. I mean, I don't know how they do it, but I think it's a mind over matter thing with Pakistan. If the mind is there, they'll be in the semis for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I think they're one of those teams.
2019 they were robbed of the weather. I think in 2019, I remember they were robbed because of the weather. I think in 2015 they lost Australian quarter. That's fine. They were the champions anyway. But I think in general, there's no quarters in this World Cup. The semis. So I think Pakistan will find a way, provided the weather doesn't derail them, of course. And then I think, and as long as we play focused, we are ruthless. I don't mind us losing to India if that's in the group stages because it's fine. India is a top team. If we lose to Australia now, I would feel a little bad because we've had the wood over them of late, so we should beat them. I mean, I think there's 9 matches in the groups. If we lose two, will still be okay. And that's not that bullish, but 7 out of 9 isn't so bad. Isn't so bad. So if we lose to England and India, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few winnable matches in this World Cup. You got a target. I mean, We spoke about Sri Lanka. We spoke about Afghanistan. I mean, you really can't write off Afghanistan in terms of, in the subcontinent. But I do feel T20 cricket is kind of their format when we talk about Afghanistan cricket. Not sure if they have the kind of players that can go the full distance in 50 overs. So that's a challenge for them. Their players do play a lot of T20 cricket. So that is why, they kind of dangerous in that format. But in 50 overs, I mean, there's so much that can happen in 50 overs. And I have to say, the skill set has got to be such that you've got to try and build an innings. And I'm not sure if a lot of these teams do have that kind of patience that can actually build an innings.
Yeah, but so, I guess revisit that one issue in Afghanistan. That's actually toward the end of the World Cup on 10th of November, and that's actually in Ahmedabad, the Western ground. And I fancy us to whoop their butts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw that pitch last World Cup in Adelaide, the last game that SA played, the World Cup, T20 World Cup in Adelaide, and that morning that a lot of us want to forget against the Netherlands. But when I look back at that pitch, pitch was kind of like an Asian wicket. It was holding in the pitch. The ball was holding in the pitch. It didn't make for good stroke play and stuff. So I think if it's a Western pitch, as you said, it's got a lot of pace and bounce, kind of like Perth. I think SA will be fine. I think SA will be fine on those kind of pitches.
Oh, we're playing them at Darumastala, Netherlands. Oh, gosh. Okay, I don't want to be negative. I think it's 50 overs, as you said. Now we'll be fine.
Absolutely.
It should be Netherlands 50 overs. If you don't beat Netherlands 50 overs, I will tear my hair out. I will completely get angry. As it is, I thought it was a joke when I saw that T20 squad, and I didn't know what I was reading until I saw it, and then I watched the highlights. I was like, what the hell happened there? But anyway, that's history. Let's be positive. It's 50 overs. We're playing really well. And that's pretty much it on my side. Any final words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say, pretty much it in terms of going to the World Cup. I mean, the preparation was as good as it could be. The last series you played, you managed to get over the line. I do feel this batting lineup is a lot better than the one in 2019, because 2019 there was a lot of outside issues that, affected this team. I think this time, it looks a lot more balanced in terms of bowling and batting. I think Marco Jansen is a valuable member of this team, so with bat and ball, and I am relishing to see what he can do on these Indian wickets with that swinging deliveries. And he offers us variety with left arm as well. So I mean, Shamsi is back. Shamsi is bowling pretty well. He bowled pretty well in that Australia series as well. He was actually one of the standout bowlers. I mean, Keshav is back from injury. He's bowling well. He can hold up in the end. So I mean, you're quietly confident. They probably be in better shape than they were in 2019. But as I say, you got to take it one game at a time.
I know Simon Dool is rooting for us, so I hope his words do come true in case India doesn't win. So that's fine as well. What else was that? I think we have a good captain in Bavuma, so I think everything is pretty much, I don't want to say it's all wrapped up like in a, gift sort of way for South Africa, but I don't think there'll be as much problem like in 2019, 2015 in the semi-finals. There's some stupid political nonsense whereby Abbott couldn't play. So I don't think we'll have that problem as well. So I think it should be, if it's not India's time, it's South Africa's time. I would put it that way but if India can't win this World Cup, I just don't see them winning a World Cup in a while. And I'm not saying that to be horrible. It's just, they're playing at home. I mean, it's all there. They had the right team. So, yeah. But as I said,
absolutely.
I don't mind to win.
I think you've just got to go and express yourself. Like you said, Bavuma is quite a calm captain as well. He knows how to lead a team. And this is his format. Let's not forget, this is his format. This is the format that he thrives in. 50 over cricket. So, expecting him to have a decent World Cup. And, let's see how it goes. But, as I said, one game at a time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. If those Asian pitches do turn, I think the best scores to defend would be 300. If it's the Western type pitches, like Ahmedabad and Kolkata, I don't know how Kolkata is a Western pitch. It's probably in the middle. I think Mumbai is definitely a Western pitch. So I think if you can make 350 on those pitches, then I think you'll probably win those matches, provided you have bowling attack.
Are they playing games in Mohali as well, eh?
Oh, Mohali. I haven't even looked at
Mohali
that
is
properly.
Mohali
I know
is
the matches in Pune. I know
yeah,
the matches in Pune, and I don't
Mohali's
know how
got a
to
lot
rate
of
Pune
decent.
at the. How's
Yeah,
Pune at the
yeah.
ground? Look, the pitch wise. Are they Western or they Asian? Pune. Trying to
I'm
remember
not
now.
sure about Pune, but I remember Mohali, and I remember Mtini in an ICC Champions Trophy. He kind of ripped through the Pakistan batting lineup, and there was a lot of pace and bounce for the SA
Okay.
bowlers on that day. So
Okay.
I don't think SA will mind playing Mohali.
I don't
Mumbai
think
would
it's
definitely
Mohali. I
Mumbai
see
would definitely
Bengaluru is hosting any. I know they say Bengaluru is hosting matches, and those are generally batsman friendly
Bangalore.
pitches there. Yeah, Bengaluru.
Oof. Oh, that's good. That's going to be a run fest. Bangalore is going to be a run fest. I mean, with those short boundaries, I mean, it's going to be really, really hard to defend on that ground. So really hard.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think Pune, I'm trying to remember now, what type of pitches are there in Pune? I know Lucknow has really weird pitches, and that's me being very polite, by the way. I think Pune ground, I think they're okay. I think they're fair, from what I could remember.
I think Kolkata is actually it's quite a fair venue as well. There's something in it for the
Definitely,
bowlers, and
definitely.
it's good for run scoring. Dharamsala, I think it's more on the slow side. It's more on the
Yeah,
slow side. So
we
that's going to
play
be a
Sri Lanka
tricky
there.
venue. Yeah, that's going to be.
Yeah, but I think if you can make 300 against Sri Lanka on that, I think we'll win. I'm calling it already.
Well, I say it's playing in Delhi. It's quite a small venue, so I think run scoring is going to be very important on that ground. So
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry, my bad. You're playing in Sri Lanka and Delhi. Oh, I thought
Delhi,
we were
yes.
playing them in Dharamsala. Oh,
So
Delhi, that's an Asian ground also, but I think it's much better. I think
I think
I think
yeah,
if we get
I
like
think we
300,
can get a
I
score
think
there.
we'll. Oh no, but isn't Delhi pitch a bit weird, in IPL? They're not the best pitchers, so hopefully they prepare a fair pitch there. So if we can make 300 on that, or even 280, I think we'll win that. And that's also a day-nighter. And if we're bowling in Sri Lanka at night, that could be fun.
Absolutely. I think the one weakness of Sri Lanka is their batting lineup. I mean, their batting lineup is in shambles at the moment. So that's something that you need to target. As I said, that's their weakness, and you need to try and exploit their weakness. So yeah, I mean, that's all from my side for now, Sid.
Sure.
Really excited for this tournament. Can't wait for it to start.
I know it's been a bit, and I don't want to say this about India because I do like to defend them, but the organization has been very poor. So now that it's finally happening, I'm a bit relieved. And
Hmm.
yeah, so okay, I shall check you on the other side and see you then, man. Peace.
Yeah, man, enjoy the rest of your weekend. A bit disappointing that the weather has, played spoiled sport for these warm-up games. Because warm-up games, I feel, is quite important as well. It gives teams a little bit of,
Hmm.
perspective on what you can expect in the World Cup. So, but disappointing. That's what I just hope. Fingers crossed that the weather gods, don't really, intervene in terms of group stages because there's a lot of exciting games in this World Cup.
Yeah, I have bad news. India and England got abandoned without
Oh
a
my
ball
God.
being bowled.
Yeah.
Actually abandoned, yeah, no result. And that one is Australia and Netherlands are still, delayed with outfield. Oh well.
Uh,
As I
uh,
famously say, S word happens.
Yeah, I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much chance of that game actually going ahead as well with the wet outfield. I mean, what are the chances?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see now. Oh yeah, World Cup warm up here. I want to see if there's any more matches here quickly before I just call it a day. Okay, tomorrow is Bangladesh and England and Guwahati, and then there's New Zealand, South Africa, and I can't pronounce his name. It's too long. Tiruvanastapa. I
Tiruvan
can't.
Tiruvan It's something.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it. I did get it previously. Tiruvanapatam. It's South Indian. Tiru Tiru.
It sounds like a Tamil place.
Yes,
Sounds
yes.
like a Tamil.
It's in it's obviously in this Tamil Nadu state.
Yeah.
Tiruvanapatam. Yeah, somewhere around there. Somewhere around there.
Then they got Australia and Pakistan
Oh,
in the Hyderabad, the warm up there on the 3rd of October. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of touching it fine considering the World Cup matches are coming close, but I don't think Australia will mind the warm ups. I think that's probably much their last warm up there, actually. So hopefully we can get the match against New Zealand done because that's more important. I don't think the Afghanistan would have done much good for South Africa anyway. It would have just been a quick fest, depending on how we woke up on the right side of the bed. So I think we would have won that. And then New Zealand SA is more important. That's the day night actually.
Yeah,
So
you know what? I would actually prefer playing maybe a Pakistan or a
hmm, hmm,
or England. I would say that would be better preparation. But I mean, it is
hmm.
what it is. In New Zealand, they've got to try and get as much practice as possible on that weekend, and take it from there. It's just about batters just getting in the right click. I do feel there's a lot of batters that are in good form at the moment. It's just about converting those scores on the day. I think that's very important. I think if one batsman can score a century and others can play around him, I think that's more than that's good enough for me, in the sense that you are going to make a 280 to 300, which I think would be too much for Sri Lanka to chase second innings.
Yeah, of course. But I still
Yeah.
can't believe New Zealand chased that. Look at this. New Zealand chased 346, and that was in 43.4 overs yesterday. Sheesh, that's a lot of runs to chase. But yeah, that's why I say New Zealand, do not write them off. They're one of those sides that just come to tournaments. They come one of those sides that come into tournaments and they just somehow click. I was surprised when they won against Australia in that very first match of the T20 World Cup. I was like, okay, this is a team that's not going to fool around. They're going to do their thing. But then saying that, I think there was rain in that T20 World Cup. So hopefully rain doesn't become a factor in this World Cup. But if it does become a factor, as long as it doesn't affect us when it comes to the lower team. If we play against a team like England in a rain-affected match and we share points, I wouldn't be too upset about that. So that could go either way. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a bad thing at all.
It's only against teams like Afghanistan and Netherlands where you're sort of like saying, what the hell happened here?
Absolutely.
I would be very upset.
Yeah.
But anyways, we shall catch this up next week and take care, man.
Cheers, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.